Okay, we are doing a twin flame energy check-in, and we're going to check in on the masculine and the feminine, check in on their energy together and see where they're both at. Let's start off with the connection itself. Let us get just a general energy for the connection itself between the divine masculine and divine feminine. Okay. Got the Queen of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, and the Empress. Okay. I'm a little bothered that that does not look all that straight. Okay. Or maybe I need to adjust my settings here. There we go. That looks much better. Okay. What is this Queen of Pentacles energy that we have? So this is just for the connection itself, right? Queen of Pentacles. I would say the feminine in the connection is really just kind of focused on themselves, focused on taking care of business, focused on making plans and taking action towards those plans. With the Nine of Wands, though, I feel there's a certain caution. They could be exploring something where there needs to be some kind of caution for them. What is the Six of Pentacles or Six of Coins? Oh no. Okay. Emperor card. Now masculine energy. So for the connection itself between the feminine and the masculine, I feel like there's not any kind of exchange in the energy between the masculine and the feminine. I think on some level there's been a giving up, honestly, between the two. Um, there's not a sense of even considering the other person at this time, so that could mean that each are individually invested in their own, you know, lives and what they're particularly doing at this time. This Queen of Pentacles tells me that this queen is really just focused on themselves. I don't even think the masculine comes to mind, um, for the feminine at least. Okay, what is this Empress energy? I'm getting that the feminine is really just hard at work. Um, they don't have time to think about. That sounds kind of rude, but it feels like the feminine doesn't have time to think about the connection. They don't have time to think about the masculine. They're too busy with something. There's not enough space in their energy right now to focus on this connection. I'm not seeing a whole lot of the masculine in the reading, to be honest. It's more of this feminine energy. But I guess overall, this, the masculine and the feminine are continuing to be separated, continuing to kind of be focused on their own lives. But particularly the feminine at this time is just really focused on what they're doing. It feels like it requires a lot of effort on their part, so they may not really have any kind of physical time to invest other than what they're doing right now. So I guess that's the energy for the connection overall. Let's start off with the masculine. What are the masculine's thoughts at this time? Their thoughts. What about their feelings? Feelings. Masculine's feelings at this time. Okay, so I guess the masculine is feeling a lot of things right now. I'm sorry, feeling a lot of things and thinking a lot of things. They have a lot in their energy. They weren't saying much in the check-in between them, but on their own, it seems like they have a lot to say. Okay. What about their intentions and actions? Intentions and actions, the Chariot with the Page of Cups in reverse. Okay. So let's look into this. Let's dive into this. I think the masculine, on their own, the masculine is dealing with a lot. Within the connection, maybe they are just as detached as the feminine. But let's take a look at the masculine's uh, thoughts. Seven of Cups with the Knight of Cups in reverse. Hmm. I think energetically, the ma- I think energetically the masculine feels resistance from the feminine, or they may even be aware of the feminine and how detached they are from the connection. There's something about knowing that the feminine is focused on other things and not on this connection, and definitely not on them. Um, so they don't really see an opportunity here, to be honest. They don't really see an opportunity to do anything about the connection. They could even be having the feeling of, I really missed out on this, didn't I? They feel like they're a nuisance, they're a bother. I know we're talking about thoughts, but um, this is what they potentially are thinking, that they're a bother to this feminine, that there is nothing for them to go towards, that there's not any kind of real opportunity, and that the feminine is just busy and focused on everything but them. So that seems to be clear, at least to the masculine. What about their feelings? We have the Two of Cups in reverse, the Page of Cups, and the Five of Pentacles. Okay. Why is this what is showing up for the masculine when it comes to the feelings? Okay, I was saying, let me get 5 cards, and we just need one more. Yep. Okay, for the feelings, when it comes to the feelings for the masculine, they kind of feel abandoned. They kind of feel abandoned. They kind of feel like the feminine doesn't care about the connection. The feminine doesn't feel the same way, or the feminine doesn't feel the same way anymore. There's something about how they kind of feel deceived. Um, the masculine and their energy is showing me they still want to try, they still want to do something, but they're also showing me hesitation because they don't know what's going on. It's They want the connection still, for sure, but I think everything that the feminine is showing them is telling them the feminine doesn't want me. My twin flame doesn't want me. They're busy. They left me behind. They don't feel the same way. They don't even care anymore. It's a lot of that seems to be going on for the masculine. Um, intention, that's just so fitting we get the devil, right? Because it is a bit of a negative state of mind the masculine is in. Although it seems warranted in a way, because that is actually true. The feminine is not giving this connection and the masculine a second thought at this time because they're busy. And we'll probably find out what they're busy with later, but that just seems to be the energy. For intentions and actions, we have the Chariot with the Page of Cups in reverse. Okay. Intentions and actions. So they're going to keep going, obviously. I mean, like everybody, right? The masculine will they'll still keep going. Okay. I think their intention, though, is to try not to care about the connection that much. I think they're trying not to want it. They could be doing things to distract themselves. There are probably certain things that they're doing that is, to them, they think, okay, this is going to help me forget this, my twin. It's going to help me forget the feminine. I'm going to be distracted by this. I'm not going to care. But obviously, that's not really going to be the case. That's just them trying to convince themselves. But I kind of wanted to get additional energy here based on what I'm seeing. the masculine, they miss the feminine. They're missing the feminine. They're sad. They think about the feminine. They're yearning for them, but they are unsure of the future. Totally correct. There's a real desire here to work on the connection. They want to build with the feminine. They want to have a commitment, a union with the feminine. They still love this feminine. Um, and I think generally overall, the masculine really wishes they could get to a level of stability with the feminine. They wish there was at least a starting point to the potential of having a relationship with the feminine. Okay. They want to talk to the feminine. They want a chance to sit down and talk and, create an opportunity for the connection. But if the feminine is this detached, that's not really going to be an option, at least at this time. Okay. Well, let us check on the feminine and their energy. Looks like it's going to be interesting. What are the feminine's thoughts at this time? Okay. What are their thoughts? Ace of Wands. What about their feelings? Wheel of Fortune. And what about their intentions or actions? Ooh, they've got a lot going on here. Okay. Well, let's see what that is. Yeah, like I said, oof, they don't have time to think about anything. That's what I'm really getting from the feminine. Okay. Uh, Sorry, I have to keep doing that. Okay. What is it about the feminine thoughts at this time? The feminine still thinks about the masculine. I want to say that. But they know how to compartmentalize, maybe. There's something about how the feminine is really focusing their mind on certain things. It feels like they're really dead set on pursuing something right now. They're passionate about something. Their mind is really wanting to get creative and grow something, maybe, whatever way that is. It feels like it's career, business, creative pursuit. Um, but they're still fond of the masculine. I'm seeing that they're still fond of the masculine, but I think this feminine has decided I don't want to focus on that. I'm doing something here and I have goals to achieve. Feelings. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse. King of Pentacles. Hmm. Oh, yeah. So when it comes to the feelings, the feminine is kind of in an energy of whatever will be, will be. um, they're open. They're still open to this connection, definitely, and they still are fond of it. They're still nostalgic, but I feel like they are intentionally diverting their energy towards things they can probably, take action towards. Um, I think they feel like this masculine doesn't have any kind of capability right now. I feel like this feminine thinks this masculine cannot provide for them, whether that is physically, emotionally, mentally. So I get the sense that the feminine is feeling certain things about the masculine, and they're not seeing that this masculine has the capability to change or to change something, circumstances, their actions, whatever. And that could be because of the impression that they have of this masculine and maybe the way that this masculine has treated them. That's why they've come to that conclusion. But they're kind of detached from it, really. It's like if it happens, it happens. But their door isn't closed. What about their intentions and actions? And we've got quite a lot of cards. The Hermit, the Ten of Cups, the Five of Swords, and the Knight of Wands. Intentions and actions. Knight of Wands. Yeah. If they are intending to do anything, it mostly has to do with something that I think they feel will potentially bring them happiness. Um, I don't necessarily see that they are including the masculine in this intention. Um, so I think in some sense the feminine, when it comes to their intentions and actions, they're not putting energy towards things that are not beneficial to them at this time. I guess in some way it's like they've given up on the connection, and it might feel like that to the masculine, especially since they're energetically connected. But I think they're really just deciding to put energy and action towards the things they can achieve, right? Ten of Cups tells me they have a goal that they're specifically trying to achieve here that they feel in the long run will really contribute to their overall happiness. It does seem like the masculine is not part of that. But I think this feminine is just really concentrated on doing what they do best, which is kind of working working for themselves. I'm hearing there's some, so maybe they have a business, maybe they are putting their efforts towards something that they're growing for themselves, right? And I get the feeling that they're too busy, they don't have time to think about this. There's not a lot of time that they have, and if they do have time, it's probably not to wallow and think about the connection, being that there's not much there anyway. That's kind of how it's coming off. um let's check in on the feminine's potential energy. Oh my, what's going on for the feminine? Oh, wow. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, okay. So I get that the feminine, um, and there's a history when it comes to this particular twin flame collective. It is about a feminine and a masculine that encountered each other when a masculine was in a long-term commitment, maybe marriage. And the connection they had was a bit of a third party situation. Definitely a lot of attraction, a lot of flirtation, and that general sense. This was definitely an unconventional connection. Okay. I think, though, that this feminine, they've made a lot of realizations. I think they're focused on themselves right now. They might be enjoying time with people, with friends. They might be, and they might even look that, like they might look like they're happily single, and they are in some way, I guess. But I think really deep down, they just feel betrayed in this connection. And yes, they recognize the twin flame dynamic, but they're heartbroken about it. So they're just really trying to survive the pain, the loss of this masculine. And they're doing what they need to do to keep surviving, right? But do they love this masculine? Yes. Do they miss this masculine? Probably. Okay. But this feminine, they have such a strong resolve to make sure that they're focused on what they actually have control over, that there's just no time to wallow anymore. And particularly in the past, they gave a lot of themselves to the connection in that way, where they wallowed, where they were in a deep depression and they chased this masculine, right? If you go back to the past readings, you'll see a lot of that energy had existed, but that's definitely a far cry from where the feminine is now. So that seems to be how the masculine and the feminine are doing at this time. I do think that I want to get guidance. No, let's do messages. Okay, what does this masculine have to say to this feminine, right? They can't say it to the feminine, but if they could, what would they say to the feminine? Right? Okay. I feel you even when we're apart. Makes sense. Never gonna let you go. That's also a song. Um, I don't want to live without you, right? And it hurts me when you talk to others. So the masculine could be feeling a bit jealous at this time. Maybe they have an awareness of the feminine and, you know, maybe they see the feminine out and about. Let's see what messages the feminine has for the masculine. Okay. So, deep down, the feminine wants to tell this masculine to fight for them, to fight for them, to fight for their connection, to choose them. That's what this feminine really wants this masculine to do. Okay. Because as I've said, this masculine is in a third party. I mean, they're already in a commitment. In another life, I would be your girl. So I need to move on. Such a strong message from the feminine that they do desire this masculine. They love this masculine, but they can see where they stand with this masculine. They can see what place they have, and that's nowhere. Okay. They want this masculine to fight for them. They want this masculine to choose them. And I think this feminine believes that under different circumstances, maybe they would be this masculine's feminine, but they need to move on because that's not the case. That's not what's happening here. I'm going to get guidance for both. I'm going to use two separate decks here. So let's get guidance for the masculine using this deck. Okay. Using the Healing Spirits Oracle deck. Very practical guidance, and I love using this deck for general oracle guidance. True love can never really be lost. That is a reminder to this masculine. True love can never really be lost. Oof. Okay. Number 30, 41, and 18 could be significant. You have the ability to affect your own destiny. Life lessons again. Bottom of the deck, to overcome, you first have to climb. Okay, now for the feminine, I'm going to use the Law of Positivism, Healing Oracle. Okay, so let's use that. The card fell. Let me see. Through faith and hope, I am divinely guided on my path. It's a nice reminder. So, guidance for the feminine. Let's see. Straight off, number 47. I accept my life exactly as it is. Makes sense. Number 49. Life is a dream within a dream. Okay. Let's get one more card. Is there one more card? No. That's it. So we've got, I accept my life exactly as it is. Life is a dream within a dream. That is the guidance for the feminine. And at the bottom of the deck, number 21, I forgive and release the past to heal my life. And I think the feminine is doing that, but that is the encouragement to forgive the masculine, to forgive themselves, right? And to just heal from the pain of it. That seems to be the individual guidance. And for the connection itself, for the connection itself, I think I'm going to use this deck for some reason. I don't know why, but let's use this deck for the guidance for the connection itself. Animals, prosperity, career, and blessings with talent. So the guidance for the connection itself, meaning the masculine and the feminine, There is a loyalty, an unspoken loyalty between this masculine and this feminine. They're forever going to be tied to each other, even if their lives do end up completely separating from one another. There is a certain loyalty here to each other. This love is going to just withstand the test of time, even if they're in separation. But I do feel the guidance is also saying to seek out the prosperity and the blessings individually in their lives. And I feel like career is a big motivator for the masculine and the feminine. There's so much that the masculine and feminine can do in their own lives to still experience, fulfillment, to focus on that. Okay. And I think the talent card is just saying that they each individually have their own talents that they need to explore. And maybe that's why the separation is necessary too. Maybe they're meant to be exploring their talents, their career, giving their all in those areas of their life, right? And unfortunately, it can't be done with them being together, but to kind of appreciate that the opportunity to have this kind of love, to even know that it exists, is already a blessing in itself. So that's what I'm seeing for the masculine and the feminine. I hope this check-in was helpful and gave you guys the guidance and the insight that you needed if you were wondering about your person.